Thanks for tuning in to Seven Figure Fitness Business. Now, I'm really excited about today's episode, AG, because we're going to be discussing for the audience what we have observed as being the 4 common traits of our very most successful mastermind members. Now, to put it in context, these are the people that in 6 months basically get their business to high 6 figures or even 7 figures based on their monthly run rates.
And these 4 different traits that we're going to talk about are things that they all have in abundance. And just in general, successful people all have similar characteristics.
Yeah, what I've found is that the vast majority of people, and I really mean that, the vast majority of people have access to all of these traits. It's just a matter of whether they actually choose to implement them into their lives and into their work culture and ethic.
Yeah, they're all definitely something that can be learned responses. And when you're personal development, these are all things that I think that people should focus on more. I think it's really easy to get carried away focusing on things that don't matter. But if you focus on these 4 things, it's pretty much a pathway to guarantee success.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like what we're doing here is we're kind of giving people a macro breakdown of what success looks like in business, rather than getting carried away with those 1%ers or those half percenters. This isn't a micro today. Like if you're listening to this, this is the macro on how to be successful in your business. So I guess let's kick things off. And the first one is something that we've discussed before, and it's something you've taught me how to do in the extreme, but it's fearlessness. So seeing as this is kind of like one of your really strong traits, why don't you break down why you think that this is so important for people to be successful?
I think, yeah, you mentioned it there, AP, and I don't want to talk myself up too much, but it's definitely something that was built into me being a former professional poker player, right? I think in poker is a game of skill, but in the short term, it can be a game of luck. And what you're doing in poker is you're always looking for an edge. So if you've got a 51% chance of winning a hand, you still got a 49% chance of losing, right? Now, if you make that play 1,000,000 times at 51%, you become a very, very wealthy person. However, play that once and you lose, there's a lot of money that can disappear. And the way I think of fearlessness is being able to find those edges and put the money in, right? Now, I'm not talking about all your money, but you want to make continuous small investments that are correct. And sometimes in business, you'll find things that are 95% favorable in your direction, and you just keep on doing the same thing over and over. There doesn't necessarily have to be an element of gamble. Now, people's success is generally going to come down to a large portion of it is going to be their tolerance to risk, feeling comfortable knowing that there is a chance that they could lose. There's a chance that they could actually fail. And it's also learning what's going to be successful and what's going to fail and making those decisions over and over again, because failing is a very, very good thing. And being fearless and confident and enjoying failure is all part of the game.
Yeah, I want to draw into something because I consider you, when it comes to business, particularly, mate, to be absolutely a mathematician. And I do think that you did gather that sort of skill set from poker, because you have to be statistical when you're playing poker so that you're making the right choice. And I don't know much about poker, so hopefully I don't sound like an idiot here, but you're playing the right cards at the right time based on the numbers. And I see in a lot of ways you do business in the same way. You often say, let's not trust our gut in making decisions. Let's actually map out the numbers and see if this plays out. We have constant examples of this, like the way that you run the business from the numbers in terms of ad spend. That largely comes into it as well. The amount that you spend on ads will probably scare the shit out of a lot of people. The reason you do that is because you see how those numbers play out in terms of return. But let's talk about something like that's been really pertinent or relevant in the last few weeks. Pricing. We've been resisting putting our prices up for quite some time in our fitness program. And the reason that we did that is because we projected fear. What if 10, 20, 50% of people reject us? I mean, we're converting so well. Like, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? And we had the courage to test. And when we tested it, it was insane. Like, the results were insane. We made more sales, we got more money up front, and we're having less people cancel. So not only did we not have a backlash, things improved.
Yeah, well, like just this week alone, we made 45K extra in a week compared to when the prices were lower. And the previous week, it was a similar number as well. So we're 2 weeks into this process, and we're not going to look back. It's incredible. And I want to run the maths by you. You see, we've increased our prices. Let's just use round numbers. We increased our prices by 20%. Now, therefore, we can afford to make 20% less sales, and we're still going to bring in the same amount of money. Now, here's the thing. When we've actually increased our prices by 20%, we actually, as of the moment, haven't changed our sales conversion percentages, and the price has gone up dramatically. So we've effectively added a 20% margin on top of our current amount of money that we're making with no extra delivery, right? Now, worst case scenario in this situation, let's just say that 20% of people do drop off because of your price increase. You've got less clients now, which means that you've got less deliverables. It means you've got less people to look after. You can give them a better quality service. And if you've got staff, it means that you don't have to hire as many people to look after. You don't need as many coaches.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to also mention this as well, like fearlessness when it comes to decision making. There is a fine line between good fearlessness and stupidity. And I think a lot of that comes down to mentorship and advice, right? So we ran that decision to put our prices up by our mentor, Charlie, who's a very intelligent guy. And having that outside opinion really does provide a lot of value because it helps us manage our fear. And it's in the same way, like you can't just go and say, I want to skydive and then go up and jump out of a plane, right? You need to have someone there with you the first time. That's the rules. Like you need to have someone that can guide you. You don't go and get into a plane and say, I'm going to start flicking some knobs and pushing some buttons and you go and take off and have a beautiful flight. You're going to crash, right? So you need someone that can help you navigate, who can tell you which buttons to push, which knobs that you need to flick so that you actually get the result that you're looking for. And most importantly, you can avoid making stupid mistakes that are completely avoidable.
It's about having a third set of eyes on your business, someone to oversee, because sometimes when you're wrapped up in your own little world, you can't actually see what's going on. And I think that that's what happened to us, because we really should have put in this price increase like years ago, and we sat on it. And I think like everyone makes mistakes in business. Everyone learns things. And I think this is something that definitely we didn't believe, because it was actually a debate with Charlie. We were like, okay, should we increase the amount of weeks that the program runs for, right? And we're thinking, can we increase the program from 22 weeks up to 26 weeks? And we're like, well, the answer to that is that's going to increase the amount of money that we have to spend on coaches, right? Program's longer, sales cycle, it's a longer process. But we were thinking, how can we have that $97 per week charge? But then because we believed that going over 97 would stop people from signing up. And now, of course, it's 117 with a lock-in of, we actually moved it up as well to 24 weeks. And Charlie was really, really pushing us. We wanted to increase the weeks, but he told us to just increase the prices with the same fixed cost of the deliverables. And sometimes you have those third set of eyes, and we were so sure of ourselves that we actually passed up some of his advice to go with our way, and we were wrong.
It's case in point to the highest degree. I mean, basically, because Charlie was that external, as you said, external set of eyes, he was able to make more logical and numerical based decisions and analysis, whereas emotion was coming into us. There was an element of fear. What if this happens? And not only that, but that was also bleeding out into our sales team who were like, what if my conversions go down? What if I make less money? And everyone's happy. We're thrilled. And this is working out really, really well for everyone involved. And Charlie, it's not the first time and it's not going to be the last time we've said this, but you were right. so
well, that's it. It's like, it's so true about the salespeople as well. They just got a 20% pay bump, just as we did. It's win-win.
Everyone's happy. So let's go into the next point now. And this is something that this one probably isn't going to blow anyone away, but it's so incredibly important and people fail this on a regular basis. And that's the ability to take consistent action and to actually do it with focus. In other words, to make sure that you ignore all of that 1% stuff that doesn't matter, get all the crap out of your brain that kind of clogs you up and focus on the step-by-step path, right? So your ability to act on the information that you're given is absolutely vital to your success.
I think the two of these really, they overlap. And the reason is when you know your numbers, you're able to make logical decisions and you can make those decisions with certainty. And as I said in poker, if I know I'm a 51% favorite, I'm jumping in there. I'm having a bet. And in business, a lot of the time you find yourself in situations where there's a decision you perceive to be 95% favorable and you lose 5% of the time. It's just like certainty, all in on that one. We're going to take what we can get.
Yeah. Even when we dashboard though, I mean, the way that the business works is typically we talk about the term bottlenecks all the time, right? So what we're essentially doing here is we're looking, well, what's the goal? And at what stage of that process are things kind of clogging up? Where are they not working? And once we find out where those clogs are, where those bottlenecks are, that allows us to apply focus. Now, for a new mentee in our program or even someone else in business who isn't in one of our programs, that may be creating a system that doesn't even exist. For people that are more advanced, it might be analyzing your system based on the numbers and saying, well, hang on a second, there's like the flow of leads or the flow of sales or conversions here, it doesn't add up. And then you're able to apply your focus and your action towards that specific thing. So that's what I mean by focus. It's knowing what to work on based on the analysis that you're doing as well that really makes a difference.
Yeah, like I like to think like lead gen is probably one of the most important things for any of the mentees who are coming on into our program, right? And our goal for everyone, the KPI, is that you get a 5-to-1 return on investment. If you put $200 down, you're going to get $1,000 back. Yeah. And if you're hitting those numbers, that then allows you to scale. But at what point in the process is that broken down? Let's just say that someone is, instead of getting 5-to-1, they're getting like 2.5-to-1 return. Mm-hmm. And then we actually have to figure out, okay, well, at what point is it? Is it your actual Facebook ad that isn't working? Is it a conversation that you're having through the process? Is it a landing page that they don't like? Is it your sales calls? Is it booking people in? Any number of things that result through the start of that funnel to the end of that funnel could be it. So what we do is we record all of those numbers and then we can go, your sales calls are the problem because you're converting at 30%. Or your Facebook ads are the problem because only 0.5% of people who see your ad are clicking through. It's in front of the wrong people. And when we break things down systematically like that, every single week, we work on the one big thing that you can change, that you can have impact over. We knock that for 6 out of the park. And if you keep systematically approaching your business one step at a time, fixing one thing, even if it's one thing a week, that's how you like grow and you absolutely blow up.
Yeah, exactly. I want to ask you a really interesting question that just occurred to me. So you see people typically on the front end of our program because of the fact that you're marketing, and that usually comes first, right? Marketing, sales, fulfillment. In regards to taking action, what is the least amount of time and what is the most amount of time you have ever seen it's taken for one of our members to effectively complete the learnings so that they can actually push go on paid ads? Let's say someone comes in new. What's the fastest you've ever seen someone do it and the longest?
3 days. I've had multiple people do it within 3 days.
3 days. And what's the longest? I'm guessing there's some people that don't get it even in the first month, right?
There's people who just don't do anything. Yeah. Like, and that's just a poor mentee. Like, you know, all the support's there, the program's there. It's like super simple. It's copy and paste. You copy the ad templates. You copy all of the landing pages. You copy all of the scripts, et cetera, and there really should be no problem. The only thing you've got to do is change it from our business, which is women with thyroid problems, and change the language to whatever your niche is, whether it be bodybuilders, whether it be dads, whether it be mums, etc.
We're going to get into this next because this transitions really well into the third point, which is basically any successful person in business needs to consistently practice honest, open, and effective communication. And if we talk about what makes the difference between a good mentee and a bad mentee, good mentors and bad mentors, it's that factor. So let's say, for example, if someone joins our program and they feel confused, overwhelmed, they have problems, is that abnormal? No. It would be very strange not to have problems, not to have questions, right? That's why you join a mastermind, or that's why you get help. What happens is some people will just kind of hello, I need help. And they'll ask once. And then after they get advice, if they're not happy with it, they just kind of they just sort of melt into their chair. The best members are the ones who ask us the most questions, who get the most consistent advice. And your success in any business venture, and really in anything you do, is your ability to get clear communication and advice from people that have already done what you're looking to do.
Exactly. Any coaching program that you do, you need feedback. There needs to be a feedback loop. If you just go at it on your own, you're just doing a course, you're not getting mentorship. And if something in your ads isn't working and you've gone through the whole course and you don't know why, having that external set of eyes going, this is the problem, change this, do that. But it is tough. Like if you don't come and ask for help and you don't request that advice, how is it that we're supposed to know? Like it's all good and well. Like we check in on all of our members regularly, but we'll check in with someone and they may not even tell us there's a problem.
Well, that's right. I think like some people feel guilty and they feel stupid, but your ability, and it comes back to fearlessness. It's funny how these all overlap, right? If you are fearless enough that you don't mind getting critiques and feedback, hey, you might not be perfect, big surprise, but you need to be willing to get critique and get feedback on what you're doing. And that way we can assist you and give you the advice that you need.
You need to take logical feedback as well. And sometimes you're not going to like the feedback, right? It's sometimes, and that's part of fearlessness. It's like, you've got to accept that the fastest way for you to learn is to be told that sometimes what you're doing may not be good enough.
Yeah. I mean, so what I say to people all the time in our conversations when people are kind of prospective clients and they're thinking about coming on board and they're firing a lot of questions at me, what if I like 8 weeks in and I'm struggling? What happens then? And it's like, hey, look, 8 weeks in and you're struggling, that's okay, because that wouldn't even happen. That means that you've communicated to us, if you've used the program effectively, on week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, we've had that many opportunities to help you fix the problem, and it's going to be a non-issue. If you get to week 8 in a program and you decide maybe this isn't working, that means that something's gone wrong much further upstream. And you need to look at where that issue began and think, well, what was the common cause there? And most of the time it's that you didn't speak up and ask for help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's so important. Like I think every mentor that we've had, we seek out people who can give us genuine mentorship that we can speak to and ask for advice, ask questions, ask the tough questions, because the higher and higher you go with different levels and the more advanced your business becomes, the more specialized feedback that you require.
Yeah. So, and like we support I've kind of worked out there's like 4 tiers of the support that we offer. So there's always going to be a course, right? Now, some programs can be tough because they promise mentoring and it literally is just a course, which that sucks. That's when people have been sold a lemon. Really common, unfortunately, in the fitness mentoring space. The second one that we offer though is group support, and that is ever present. So 7 days a week, people can get really quick and rapid advice and feedback from us inside a Slack platform. And we do that because that advice and support is going to be the level that helps people get the answers to the majority of their questions. Third is we do live training sessions where we run a number of them on different topics so that people can get into a community environment, but live session with a coach and get advice, share their screens. Like that's really, really valuable. But if push comes to shove, if what's stopping somebody from being successful is just needing to get on a one-on-one, we're going to do it as well. Like we've got that level as well for people that need it. And it's kind of like a pyramid where the course becomes the backbone. That's your step-by-step. Then you get the instructions, and it's like your coach in Slack. Then you get a higher level of support in live sessions, which you go to the relevant ones. And then finally you get one-on-ones if and when needed as a last resort to make sure that you are always getting the support and the advice that you need. And we've found that system is surprisingly rare in a space where people are getting mentored.
Well, I think there's a certain point people need one-on-one as well. It's not like, I think everyone at some stage, like everyone in our program at some stage is hopping on one-on-one calls, whether it's that they're suffering or struggling with the tech-based stuff on Facebook and they just need a guide and help with the setup, whether it's that they need all the way to needing something super advanced, like what do I do in this situation? Who should I hire? Am I going to hire a coach first? Am I going to hire a salesperson first? And just being able to ask us the questions, because anything that our clients have a question about or are going through, we've probably already been through a couple of years ago.
Well, that's right as well. And we can just give people systems, infrastructure. Hey, this is legitimately what we've done. Hey, we've already experienced that problem. Here's exactly how we solved it. And that's really valuable. But the point we're making here is that it's completely normal to be overwhelmed. It's completely normal to have problems. It's completely normal to have help. What determines whether you are a successful or a unsuccessful mentee is your ability to recognize that and ask for help from the right people as soon as possible. If you do that consistently, that is a massive trait of successful mentees in a program. Agreed?
100%.
Now, the fourth and final category is an interesting one, and it's having charisma and likability. Now, most people, I think there's a scale of this, like 99 people out of 100 are absolutely fine when it comes to this, because if you remember our first videos when we started HyperBT, and they looked like shit. We were in like dark rooms, the videos were crap. We didn't have teleprompter apps, so we were like stuttering all the time. But people liked that stuff. And the reason is because we were honest, we were raw, and we were vulnerable, and we had a story that people could relate to. So you don't have to be perfect to have likability and charisma. You just have to be able to communicate at a basic level and be passionate about something, right?
You have to be able to communicate like you do in real life. Like most of the people in our program have at one time trained people in person or coached people in person. Mm-hmm. And people have come to you and you've been a successful trainer in the past, and there's a reason. You just have to be able to show that when you're on camera. And the thing about this is that's a learned response. Like even for myself, I view this as something that I've struggled with over the years, that I haven't been the best. And now it's just became a mission of mine, just become better and better and better. And like I do presentation coaching because I want that third external set of eyes of someone reviewing my videos and telling me how I can actually improve them.
Yeah. So like if one of our friends, for example, was to see some of those videos, they'd probably laugh because, you always look stiff as a board. But when it comes down to it, your story was so strong and so solid that people were still obsessed with you and what you were telling them. And I think like this loops again into fearlessness, but having the courage to put something out there and then work on improving it, that's really what it's all about. So it's just vulnerability. I guess I should say likability and charisma. The most important element there, really, it's not being the best communicator in the world. Like you don't have to be like a T. Robbins or something like that. You just have to have like a really great story and be honest and vulnerable about your situation and your passion.
That's right. Like when people would see my video, like perhaps our friends would see me talk and go, hey, AJ's looking like he's anxious on camera.
Yeah.
But at the same time, while that may not be charismatic for our friends when they see that, a hypothyroid lady who's gone through the same things as me will find that extremely charismatic. Yes. So charisma isn't necessarily something that you have or you don't, because different audiences can perceive something very differently.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to relatability, right? Like if you're more relatable to the audience, charisma. So yeah, I completely agree. I think that kind of wraps everything up. I mean, is there anything else besides those four things or anything that you want to expand on that we've discussed already?
Yeah, I do want to quickly just discuss one more thing about just being, it ties in with everything else. It's like the certainty, the fearlessness, all of these things are traits that you really want and need and require to be really great on video. But sometimes, as you said, AP, some of the rawest things are the best. I remember some of my very best performing videos back when I was in health were literally me holding up my phone and wandering through a shopping center and looking for food that had high amounts of protein in it and going, hey, look at this one, look at that one. And I was just an idiot walking through a shopping center. And you can just do stuff like that. Like the idea of going live is it's the raw documentation of your life, because we live in a world where everyone's trying to misrepresent their lives and show something that they're not. And that's a large part of what social media is. But when you're actually the person who decides, hey, I'm going to truly represent what it is that I do, and the intention isn't about showing how ripped or shredded I am, but actually to help your prospects, the people who are following your stuff, you put yourself in a whole nother world, in a different category of people, and it makes people think differently about you because you're in to help them.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of people out there that when they start doing videos, it's kind of like that cliche, like, hi, I'm Andrew and my life's perfect. And really like what people relate to more is like, hey, hey, I'm Andrew. Like, we all have these kind of struggles. This is how I've managed to come out the other end and to solve them. Like that kind of thing, people think, well, hey, he or she gets me. They've kind of been there. They understand it. And the relatability immediately creates a sense of trust and connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said, it comes back to fearlessness. Not caring about being judged, being certain about your actions, enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And I think if I were to define what the biggest one out of them all, it would have to be fearlessness. I think that wraps and ties in with absolutely everything. But when you're willing to succeed at whatever cost you need to, morally and ethically, that's when you win. That's when you win the game.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, they kind of go in order of importance, really. You have to be fearless. You have to take action. In taking action, you need to actually be honest about how you're going. And if you're getting help, make sure that you use that effectively. And then finally, being likable and having charisma, that's kind of the cherry on top. If you follow that structure, you'll smash it.
And when you look at the people in our program, the Shanes, the Brads, walking the pathways before us, and then there's people like Tom, they all do have these traits in abundance, and they're all happy to put themselves out there. They go and they attack life, and there's a will and a desire to succeed.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it. I mean, mentoring is effectively looking at people that have already done what you want to do and trusting that, hey, they've got a map. All I need to do is follow that map and get help if I take a wrong turn, and you'll end up at the destination faster, more reliably. That's it. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.